So Scott, can you take us back? What is one of the silliest, craziest, could be dumbest things that you would be okay sharing here with the audience?
Yeah, Travis, thanks for this opportunity. I won't go into the fact that I'm your typical Minnesota lost my front teeth hockey player, but I
Well,
will share with you a
that's
different.
everybody, right?
I'll give you a different story. That's to be expected. I will share with you a different story. So I grew up in a border town between Minnesota and Wisconsin, and what splits that border is the Mississippi River. And so I spent a lot of my childhood on that river with buddies, with my parents, up and down in boats, having a ton of fun. And there was a bridge, believe it or not, a high bridge. We used to call it High Bridge.
How high we
talking? 60 to 65 feet, depending on how high the water was at that time. So think six-story, 7-story building, somewhere in there.
All right.
And we used to go up and down the river, and legend had it that there was a group of guys years ago who jumped off that bridge and were just legendary human beings in the town that I grew up in. And so we had always joked from the earliest I can remember, as a group of young men, that at some point in time we're going to make a pact and we're going to do the deal. I think statute of limitations applies now because this is further than 10 years ago. But
maybe it was a free jump day. You never know. Right. I want to hear how this goes.
So there we were. Your mom always says something to the effect of, if your friends asked you to jump off a bridge, I bet you would. Well, here we were. Friends called me around 3:30 that day, something like that. Said, hey, let's meet on the High Bridge at 4:00, and this may or may not allegedly have happened, but there we were, 8 of us running up the side of this bridge, people honking their horns, motorcycles popping wheelies at us. You look out on my hometown, and there are hundreds of people sitting on the side of the river.
Wait, how did watching this happen. How did the word get out?
I don't know. I wasn't an organizer of this. And I may or may not have even participated in this. But so there we were. Imagine staring over the side of a river that it's dangerous. There's things that are floating in that river. You don't know, because they may be 6 inches beneath the surface, and you wouldn't know if there was a tree or
I would not do
barrel. This. And 1, 2, 3, one at a time, 8 of us, boom, 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 boom. And we all made it, no injuries. A few of us got picked up by a boat, brought over onto the docks, and as legend would have it, we all survived that day. And I don't know, 20 years later, here I am telling this story, maybe for the first time in the most public way possible. But a good friend of mine has a little newspaper clipping that reads, eight young men were seen jumping off of XYZ bridge, and none of them were caught that day. So
the town was all in on it, huh?
The town was all in on it. Everybody was in on it. So it's there you have it, Travis. My friends asked me to jump off a bridge. I would jump off a bridge for them.
That qualifies as dumbest and craziest thing you've ever done. Thank you for sharing, Scott. Let's be honest. Life's messy. Decisions are complex. And it's not all black and white. But these are the decisions that shape our growth. Welcome to The Tension. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. Welcome to The Tension. As always, we are going to go over not a problem that we can ever solve, but a tension that we have to learn how to manage in life. And today, I say it every time, but I got to say it again. This is another one of those that speaks to my heart. It's something I've wrestled with, and yet it's something I don't feel like is talked about enough out there that we're all trying to manage, which is the tension of being liked versus respected. And so think about all of the places this podcast may go today in that very, very difficult tension that we're all managing. But super excited. Today we have Scott Niles with us. He's the executive vice president at 49 Financial for growth and our head of the field, which is a big, big, big title, meaning he is the one that is really over all of the advisors, leading the charge. And so, Scott, it's awesome to see what you're doing inside of the company, all the great things you're doing there. But to be able to be on the podcast with you is extra special. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
So, Scott, so this tension, right, being liked versus respected, and how oftentimes it's a tension because when you go one of the directions, the other way kind of goes down, and vice versa. But I mean, maybe just in your own words, like, tell us, why is this a tension? What tension? Like, what is this tension?
Yeah, it's good. It's something I've wrestled with my entire life that I don't know that I even realized I was wrestling with it until just a few years ago, and even just reflecting very recently of this idea of who you are and your relationships you have, what your values are, and all of this stuff. And so I go back. This is really relevant to me. This goes back a long, long way. So I'll start this with I'm an only child. My parents were not biologically weren't supposed to be able to have kids, and there I was, the miracle, I guess.
Miracle baby Scott, huh?
That's right. Yeah. And so I grew up as an only child. I didn't, today I'm envious of those who have brothers and sisters. In fact, it was lots of conversations in my household. We're raising two girls, and wanted to make sure that our children had somebody else that they could lean on for the rest of their lives. That person at their right hand side. And Travis, I know I've heard you talk about your family too. It's something you don't realize when you're growing up, but later in life, you recognize the value in all of that. And so early on in life, Travis, my friends were everything to me, as you could probably imagine. It was everything I could do to be liked by my friends, to be valued by my friends, because I didn't have brothers or sisters to go home to at the end of the day. And some of your listeners are probably laughing a little bit because they might not have liked their brothers and sisters when they were going home at the end of the night, but you don't understand how valuable.
At least you have them, is your point. Like at least there were people that you go through highs and lows and good days, bad days with. So you're saying that extra, because I don't understand. I had a brother and a sister, like that the yearning to then be liked because you crave so much of what maybe is so naturally in the sibling relationship, like caused you to like really go after the first part of the tension of like versus respected in like an extra dramatic way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I prioritized my friends over everything, and
makes sense.
Would oftentimes, sacrifice things personally to be with them, to do what I could to build those relationships, to maintain those relationships, to put myself in a position where I was, the old FOMO, fear of missing out. That was everything for me. I did not want, if there was something happening, I wanted to be there because my friends were everything. When I got home at the end of the day, two working parents, I didn't have somebody to go play with, somebody to go hang out with. I watch my kids now, they fight all day long, but at the end of the day, right before bedtime, Travis, is when it's like time for hugs and laughs and playing.
Why couldn't you like throughout the day, please, next time?
I didn't have that growing up. So I prioritized my friendships and really wanted to be liked. As the story goes on, and we can dig into all of that, that became tricky and troubling as friendships change over time and as things happen. And kids, middle school, early high school days, there was some struggle in there, which I'm happy to dig into and tell more about. And then it later in life, it shifted to wanting to really prioritizing being respected. And so I'm happy to go as deep as you want into all of that. And it wasn't again until later in life that I reflect back and these waves I've gone through and how I'm trying to achieve that balance of liked and respected today.
Dude, first of all, thanks. We are going to unpack. I mean, I look forward to even learning a ton here today. But if I'm hearing you right, maybe first part of life, you were not balancing the tension well because you were mainly in the liked category. And I mean, in some ways, I think there's some level of that all of us as kids kind of experience, right? Because we don't really deserve any respect when we're kids, right? But if you take liked too far, right? And I think that's maybe where you're going by not having siblings and things like that, it can be almost all encompassing. And then on the other side, business and all these other things, like, yeah, respect is such an important piece. And frankly, in business, like if you don't have that, especially if you're a leader, like you're unable to move forward. And that's more of the maybe the side of the tension you're on. And then it sounds like today you're in this like really neat blend of the two. So I want to save the blend and the happy stuff and how you've matured over that whole couple of decade experience of even noticing this. But yeah, I mean, take us back, and as much as you're wanting to, like, you felt and saw this idea of being liked. And even as you and I have gotten to know each other and I've gotten to talk to you, there were moments that made you say, like, dude, forget this. I don't even care about being liked. Like, I'm not even go after that. Like, tell me what happened that caused you to then go so full blown into almost the respect mode.
Yeah. Even Travis, just listening into this, this is as vulnerable as I get. In a state where I'm exposing myself and maybe exposing some old wounds as we're sitting here live today. So, again, pouring all of that into my friendships leaves you in a very vulnerable state because, well, let's just face it, kids can be mean, and they can gang up and be mean in different ways, and I think there's a heightened sense of awareness around what that looks like in the schools today and what that looks like in sports. But back then, in this would be the early-ish 90s, that wasn't really a thing. You were just expected to be a kid. It's what kids did. And so, I had what I thought were all these wonderful relationships. And twice then, in what's probably your most formative years as a child, going into and entering into the middle school age, 6th grade, those early days in middle school, which middle school is just hard. Totally. And then the early days of high school, going into 9th grade, I found myself in a really tough spot where all of those friends, for one reason or another, decided that I was going to be the person that they were going to pick on and ultimately abandon. So you imagine, Travis, you pour everything you've got your entire life.
Yeah, your identity.
School, growing up, my entire identity was these friendships that I had.
Yeah.
And to show up one day and open your locker only to have something posted in it that says, these are all the people that no longer like you. And how hard that was. In that moment, just crushing, absolutely just defeating you, but you don't know what to do with it when you're that age.
Well, especially at that time, like at that time it was that happens, you get hurt. It's like dust it off. And that's the advice. So that's the advice. Kids being kids, they'll be better the next day. And it's like, it wasn't the sensitivity to what that feels like as a kid was not a thing. I mean, today I agree with you. It's a lot better, a lot more in tune. But I mean, so talk to me about it. I mean, like, so that happens. Yes, I think all of us could probably go through a time in which we've had that either just seasons change and relationships sour, because especially in that time, it seems like every year, right, seasons are changing. Or like people outright do some pretty hurtful things that are tough. So like for you, because as you're saying, we're so over indexed on like my identity is for these friends because I don't have it at home and I want to be liked. Like, so what did that cause you to feel? I mean, again, this whole thing's about learning the tension. And so if we're going to teach people the tension, I think we got to be honest of what it feels like when you don't manage the tension and you're just on one or the other side, not trying to do both. So like, how did it feel when everything was about being liked? And again, you're young, but like, and then it comes crashing down.
Yeah, it's and Travis, it didn't happen just once. It happened twice. This isn't a pity party or a poor me situation, but also happened in 9th grade when we moved into a new home and found ourselves in another really just challenging place where kids were being mean as I was entering into high school too. But and that's that first time around, I think you tend to figure out different avenues for there were a few kids who saw through that and still just pushed through to find ways to be friends of mine. But even, I remember days where I would be in the car with my mom and a friend of mine, and there would be a group of friends of mine out that we're driving past, and that friend ducks into the back seat, not wanting to be seen with you. This is just the reality. You're expected to show up at sports and put on a tough face. You're expected to show up in the classroom and put on a tough face. And so, you find alternative friends, but it's not the same, because these are the guys you're in sports with. These are the guys that you're more naturally inclined to run around with. And so you start to build some surface level relationships with people that you don't necessarily identify with. And so you're getting along. You learn how to get along with people, but not really build meaningful, deep relationships with people. And so that is, that's that experience. And so later into those high school years and into even those college years, when you get a chance to, continue to reinvent yourself.
Right.
What I started to think about more was I was less worried about whether people liked me or not. I cared if people liked me or not, but I started to act in a way where I cared more about what my personal brand was, and how I was perceived to be versus who I was.
More on that respect side.
Yeah. That wall started to build up. And, going back, I may have lived my childhood slightly different than what I did, having more deeper relationships that last the test of time, and versus really just trying to put on a tough face and be that thing that you thought everybody would respect. Be that person you thought everybody would want to be like. And that ultimately that didn't add as much value in my life. I didn't get as much out of that in those, late stage high school and early stage college days. It wasn't until my professional life where I felt like I had a real opportunity to rebrand myself. But so that's that tension of, I really wanted to be liked when I was little. Trust was broken a couple of different times. I started to build not deep relationships, but more shallow relationships, because
don't go that deep again. I won't feel that way again.
That's right. Yeah. I was putting up a wall so I wouldn't get hurt again. And, and that's what ended up happening through those years.
What's so crazy, I know, I don't mean to get us to the future, but like listening to you, I just wish we could like get this last 10 minutes in the hands of like everyone that is in middle school, high school, to let them know like that stuff like matters. I mean, now your story is amazing, because fast forward 20 some odd years, you're one of the top people in Ameriprise, one of the more successful people, super fit, doing all the different things, friends, everything like that. So the story, for the listener out there, it's going to be more fun as we go along. But it is still so true to say, like, in the formative years, thank you, frankly, for being bold enough and have the vulnerability enough to admit it. But I think we all have that stuff. And I think a lot of us, whether it was the dramatic kind of traumatic events like you mentioned, or it was a one-off thing or here or there, like I do think that like going all in on, I'm going to do everything in my power to make you like me. I think every human has gone through that phase with someone or a group of people or whatever it may be. And so to just hear from you that is not only not the right way, it is not managing the tension well. And it does. I mean, I think your point is just, I don't know that I can think of a story in my own life where that's ended in something good. And in some ways it's the classic, if that's what you really want the most, that's what pushes people away the most. Right.
Yeah.
And so also the very thing you're so desperate for, it's the classic, like people can pick that up. And so they're not going to give you that, or they're going to do the opposite of it. And so it's like, I don't know, there's so many factors there that's so interesting that, when you're 12 years old, you don't know. You're just wanting people to play with, right? Want an identity and trying to figure it out. So take me like to today, because you kind of mentioned your high school, early college as I'm not going to go all in on the like. I'm going to have superficial relationships, because tried that twice on the whole getting deep relationships. Not for me. So you started to get your brand going, and you started to go more on the respect side, especially as you get out of college and you get to business. Now I know where the story ends. Clearly, you have a lot of it in the industry, but like, talk to me, like, what was that journey like? And then, of course, we'll get to what you've already told me, which is then you went all on respect, and that doesn't work either, right?
Yeah,
And we'll get there, but and I don't mean to waft that to the listener, but like, take us through like the journey of I'm going to go for respect.
yeah, yep. And so, again, through those college years, fortunately, I met my now wife of gosh, what are we at? 16 years
Heck
now.
yeah.
And so that was she was a bit of a saving grace in all of this, as I was heading down a path of even in college, just trying to stay liked, and doing things again that if I were to go back and rewrite the script, I probably wouldn't have had as much of a party lifestyle and those types of things that were taking me down. I look at some of these people I work with today, some of the young people we're bringing into the business, and just how much they're prioritizing, I think, the right things in life. And I didn't know how to do that because I was just fighting for the day to continue to want to be liked. And
Okay.
fortunately, I don't know how, but maybe I tricked her. I'm not really sure. Maybe I showed a little bit of vulnerability, and there she was for me in that moment. And that's a whole nother story for another time, Travis, another podcast later on. But then I got to these professional years, and it's where I started to get more serious about life. I wanted to get engaged. I wanted to get married. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted that whole side of life, that side of life that to me really was going to be that next chapter to begin, and was given a platform and an opportunity to become a leader, and and an opportunity to reinvent who I was and who I was perceived to be, in a competitive space, in a space where I could be the first to show up and the last to leave, in a place where I was measured on my activity and my results, on a place where the outcomes you get.
It was more fair versus the like game is a complete unfair. There is no target. There is no, like, it could just go away one day, no matter if you put in all the right inputs. You're saying in the business side, gaining respect equaled hitting numbers or certain results, and you could actually do that, and no one could take it away with a note in the locker, so to speak.
Right. That's right. Yeah. If I just went all in on
That's good.
being the most respected leader, respecting the leaders who and taking as much away from them as I could, and emulating the things that led me to respect them, taking the best of the best and packaging up inside me to be that respected person, to do the things that I thought, people would look and they'd say, wow, that person's really got it together. I show up in a suit and tie when other people weren't wearing a jacket or a tie, coming in first, leaving last, bringing new ideas to the table, out activitying everybody. I remember my first year of marriage, Travis, I got a job out in the field, doing leadership with large financial advisor practices across the Dakotas and Iowa and Nebraska and outstate Minnesota. So all the sunshine states, the spring break destinations. I joke, this is all in my backyard. I won the Energizer Bunny Award for the most amount of hotel rooms, nights spent in hotel rooms. I was diamond at Hilton. I was diamond or platinum on Delta Airlines that year. And I took a lot of pride in all of these things. These are the things that fueled that love language of mine. That's words of affirmation, of recognition, and achievement to me was an attaboy and a pat on the back and a name on the top of a scorecard. And I poured everything I possibly could into being great at that, because it was feeding me back all the things that I need. It was like fuel. It's like food to me. As I was just digesting it all, and that began to just continue to compound and grow on itself. What I didn't recognize, Travis, is that I was leaving all the other stuff behind. So all the personal relationships,
the good parts of being like, so to speak, which is just the you may not respect me because I'm just your friend. Like
Yeah.
I'm just someone that's hanging out with you and just laughing with you. Like you let those, and again, it makes so much, your self-awareness is so amazing, but it makes sense why you did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I left, in hindsight, I did not prioritize my friend relationships. I prioritized my marriage, and I tricked myself into believing that, work, and it's true. You do build friendships and relationships in the workplace.
Totally.
And I, live this one big blended life of work and family. But there was something still missing there because what I was thinking were friendships and relationships, and still to a degree still are, was all built in the workplace, and
Yeah.
and it was all about how could I be perceived, what kind of results could I get, what kind of recognition could I get, and that was just what energized and fueled me for a decade of my career. This rise I had at a large organization. It wasn't until looking back that I even recognized any of that.
Yeah, I understand it completely, man. It is if not careful, the drug of recognition can be a fuel until it crashes, right? Until you realize that while you may have, back to this whole tension, you may even have people that like you. You sure feel like you have people that respect you. I think the one thing you realize at the end of that is like, but are these my people? Like, are these my, like, do they know me? And it sounds like you did that so well with your wife, like she knew you, right? And you let that, but that one continued to be safe, whereas this, you're almost trying a new thing. And boy, I can remember my days at a large shop and just like be like, I don't really care about that award. And then when I was on stage and stuff, I was like, who am I kidding? Like, this is great. You like me, respect me, it's all gonna be fine. So I mean, you had to have had the moment, right? That it all came to like, oh shoot, this whole achieve, what's the perception of others? Yeah, I mean, tell me about the moment that had to have eventually happened when you figured out that wasn't all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, yeah. It was a hard fall, Travis. It was um, another one of these very formative moments in my year, in my career, in my life, in my relationships. And so I was given a really big opportunity within a company at that time, and I was there to prove everybody wrong and to
Yeah.
prove the couple of people right who were betting on me, and prove everybody else. It was just, there was this thing, right? There's hate losing more than love winning, kind of a thing. And so it was a chip on the shoulder coming in to prove everybody wrong, that all the things that said couldn't be done could actually be done. And so I went into that opportunity, the proverbial guns blazing, hot. And, I memorized the scripts. I knew what the company was trying to do. I knew how to win on scorecards. I knew how to build execution plans. I knew how to execute with excellence. And if I just did that, I would prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And then, picture this, it's a year and a half, 2 years in, me in my home office. This is around COVID time, lights out, sitting in the corner,
Mhm.
curled up, my arms wrapped around my knees, my head down, in between my knees, in a ball of tears,
Mhm.
feeling like I couldn't win at anything,
Yeah.
recognizing that I had nothing real other than my name on a page on a scorecard with a number next to it. And that was all I really felt like I had in that moment. What I had said, quote me, is I feel like I'm losing in all areas of life right now. I'm losing as a husband, as
Yeah.
a father,
Yeah.
as a son, as a coworker, as a leader, as a friend. I was on a treadmill.
Mhm.
I'd overdosed on the drug, if you will, of recognition. And the moment it got hard for me was the moment I realized I didn't have community. I didn't have a support system. And it wasn't because nobody was giving that to me. It was because I wasn't prioritizing it, fostering it, developing it, and allowing people in to who I was so that they would allow me in to who they were and support me. And it was a scary, scary moment in life. You got little kids, you got a wife who's at home. You just continue to just put the water on your back and hump it up the hill. Every single day. Pretend like there's no issues, and it all comes crashing down in one big moment where you just felt like there was no winning to be had. There was you had nothing. You felt like you had absolutely nothing, which wasn't true, but it was how I perceived the world to be in that moment. Even just thinking about it right now, it makes me emotional. But I'm also so grateful for that moment, and we can talk all about kind of where it took me from there. But scary, scary days in those early, 2021, 2022 days of feeling like everybody's telling you you're on top of the world, and yet you're feeling like you are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, man, you've already been, so vulnerable and transparent and self-aware, but I mean, to share that, I know that the bulk of people that listen to this are on their journey, in their career and trying to figure it out. And I think there is a belief that I followed, that you followed, that if you can keep achieving them, if you can keep putting it on the scoreboard, if you can keep these things or whatever it may be, you'll not only have the liking, you'll have the respecting, and it's all actually going to work. And if I could just hit this, and if I could just hit that milestone, and if this year I just do this, if I get this promotion, if I have this many people, this much AUM, whatever it may be. And, it's so funny. I've still never met anyone that as they got those things outside of like, that was cool, was satisfied, because those things actually are not satisfying, like to the soul level. They're milestones and congratulations, celebration, and that's all really good. But to your point, like what I'm hearing a lot, and boy, it seems like we get to this in every one of these podcasts. If your identity, meaning in your case, right, you're saying like, hey, Scott equals achievement, hitting it, recognition, that's how it works. Or in your youth, right, Scott equals this group of friends. It's like anytime it's I equal, and then it's these things, right, that just aren't going to be the only things or can't satisfy. Yeah, it just seems to always crash and burn, in some way or another. So like, I mean, just real quick, like for the people out there that maybe are on that treadmill and don't even realize it and are addicted to if I just do this year, it'll all be better, maybe neglecting some of the source things that are going on in their life that they need to fix. It's not going to be solved by more money or other things. Like, maybe just real quick, what would you tell them? And then I do want to get back to your story, but like, just for a moment right here, like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. When I look for leaders, I've added something to my list of things that are really important to me when I look for bringing a leader onto my team. And it's you got to be book smart. You got to have a great work ethic. You got to be coachable, but you also have to have self-awareness.
Yeah, man.
And you have to be open to seeking help. There are so many, men and women. I'll go on the men's health side of this. So I'm a big advocate for men's health, mental and physical. I'm a big believer in now therapy and coaching, to help you truly understand who you are and what's driving these things. Especially if my advice would be, if you're dissatisfied with life, if you're not finding happiness, which, there've been it's been on my top 5 values now for a number of years. And I purposefully seek out the things that I know will intrinsically make me happy these days. I figured that out. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I know the things I need to prioritize to make me happy. ask for help. Be honest with yourself, be vulnerable with others, and then ask for help. And we could talk more about that at the end too, as I think about what, and as I share what I did from that moment. So
we'll actually keep going. I mean, this is I should pause to just at least say, like, self-awareness is like such a funny thing. I mean, you and I are not even old, and yet we have lived a little bit of life enough to have figured out just all of the issues we have. And that self-awareness, it comes and it hurts and it punches you until you can just kind of, in some ways, it should be its own tension, but it is the tension of gaining self-awareness. You want it, but it's so painful. And then once you have it, what do you do with it? And on we go, over and over again, never getting perfect, never going to be perfect, but trying to just make ourselves better right every day. So I just appreciate that a ton. So I'll have just some questions and a little bit more advice here as we close, but I do want to get to, okay, we've really gotten where you've been and a little bit of kind of up to speed on today, but one of the reasons we wanted to have you specifically on, to talk about this tension of being liked and respect is because effectively your message is, if you go after either, you'll get none.
Yeah.
And that's in fact the tension. And if you go after one a ton, the other one goes down. And it's just this strange thing that keeps happening over and over to people. You're not the only story here, obviously, but what have you found today? Like today version of Scott. And then in that you can talk about future version of Scott too, because I think it's very similar.
Yeah.
Like, what have you learned and what are you actively doing to balance all that so you don't get too much identity into one or the other and actually live like I'm going for more of the source stuff anymore. I'm not going for the things that could be taken away.
Well, I'll tell you I'll pick up the story where it was, and then I'll finish where you just asked me to go, which is, so there I was desperate. And fortunately, a couple of people, really important people in my life at the time, recognized that and chose to invest in me and hired me a coach, a personal, he's a therapist and a performance coach.
Yeah.
And listen, I got on the line. Here I was ready. I'm ready to achieve. I'm ready to take it all on, win this battle too, Travis.
I'm going to win therapy.
I'm going to win that therapy, and I'm going to win this battle.
Hey, dude, sadly, first time I did it, I thought there was something you could win myself.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Preaching
A friend of mine joked, you can't win at golf. You can't beat the game of golf. You can't beat therapy, and you can't beat learning about yourself. But there I was, ready to do it, probably more willing than anybody ever. And I got into that first session and I poured my guts out, poured my guts out to this guy. And here's he asked me one question that changed my life forever, which was, he knew the answer to it, which was the tricky part, Travis. He asked me, hey, what did your wife say to you when you told her all of this?
Come on.
You know the answer to it. Everybody knows the answer to it. I didn't tell her anything. She doesn't know any of this. How could she know any of this about me? I am the provider. I'm the guy that is bringing in, making the bacon. I can't ask for it. She can't know any of this about me. And he said to me, how dare you? This woman gave up her life for you. She married you because she wanted to love you in sickness and in health for the rest of your life. She wakes up every day, in a partnership, and expects partnership from you, not providership. She expects partnership with you.
Yeah.
And how dare you keep this opportunity away from her to partner and help you to be better and to really know who you are and to really know what's going on with you in this moment. You've by not sharing that with her, you've taken that opportunity away from her to be able to help you.
Yeah, man.
That is a punch to the gut like you've never had before. to recognize that you've made this commitment to somebody and they've made a commitment back to you, and you've got this partnership together, and you're really not just being honest with each other, which then led to other questions about, well, who else doesn't know anything about you?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but I mean, in your defense, in some ways, it's easy to do now. But like, in some ways, I mean, you'd kind of train yourself likely to think, well, she was the safe place that, yeah, you weren't going to have all the other stuff in, and you were going to like just
She's gonna
provide
love
it.
me anyway.
That's yeah, and yet the very person that you had been proven all those years would love you anyways, still that what how's she going to be perceived? How's this going to work? And so it's this again, it's a tension because it's never solved. Like yeah, you knew it and you know it, and oh, I could list so many things for me, which is why it's not a tension that can be solved. But I assume then you did, and you experienced exactly what you thought, which is
Yeah.
an amazing let's thank you, let's do this together. And then I assume you started to let others in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that the scariest moment of my life, after asking her to marry me and then saying I do, which are wonderful moments, but also those are commitment moments.
Oh
And
yeah.
that next scariest moment of my life was saying, hey, I just sitting down at the dinner table and turning off the TV and saying, hey, I just need you to listen to me for the next probably 30 minutes.
Wow.
And please don't say anything. I don't want you to respond. I just need you to listen to what's going on in my life and what I'm feeling these days, and what I've in reflection, what has led me to this place of not being unhappy. It has nothing to do with you, but I need you to know. And so just pouring your guts out in that way, as vulnerable as you can possibly be, leads to so many great things. And so then I recognize, Travis, that the reason I wasn't feeling like I was winning at anything relationship wise, I didn't know who my people were, is because I wasn't letting anybody in.
Come on, dude.
Nobody knew who I don't know if I knew who I actually was, let alone letting people into knowing who I was. And it wasn't until that moment where I decided, listen, I am really, truly just going to live one life. And pretty or ugly as life is,
Yeah, no
I'm a
perception.
human.
Perception is going to be reality for everybody from now on. No like, no respect.
Everybody,
This is it.
I'm not going to air all my dirty laundry all the time, but
There's a dash of wisdom in that, I believe.
life does happen to everyone. And the moment I started to share with people that I struggled, and that I had a rough go over the course of the stories I started to hear, the ways that people let me into their lives, the amount of men that are in high power positions that have struggled is remarkable. You might not know it until you start to have those conversations, but the people started letting me into their lives. I started letting them into my life. I started to prioritize differently partnerships in the workplace, friendships outside of the workplace, and started to really not only try to just be this model person I always wanted to be, but truly give a dang about people and what's going on in their life, and follow back up with them to show empathy when I really cared. And then there was this happiness journey I went on, and there's a famous author. He wrote a book about happiness, several podcasts, and he talked about happiness in a formulaic way of joy, satisfaction, and purpose. And joy and satisfaction being quite fleeting. You can eat a candy bar, that tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
You could train and run a marathon, did that was pretty cool. But both of those end with, so what's next? It's not until you have purpose, and purpose is aligned to values. And so once you get to that spot where you feel like you're a purpose-driven individual who's born to serve and to love, and to build, foster, and develop relationships in a meaningful way, you have to prioritize that stuff. You just never get there. So things are they're different these days. I'm trying to be more purposeful about being vulnerable, being authentic, being genuine, being present, listening to people, caring about those people, following up with them on a regular basis, ensuring that they know that you care, not in a fake way, but in a real, authentic, like give a dang type of way. Travis?
Yeah. I mean, everything that we have talked about, I think comes down to one line when it comes to this tension, which is if you want to learn how to manage the tension of being liked and respected, be vulnerable. I mean, because your vulnerability to yourself first to even know some of these things you brought up, and the vulnerability to bring it up on a podcast that can go anywhere, to then like have the vulnerability to say, like, here's what I learned even in my own marriage, these things, but then exactly where I was hoping you'd go. Now, all of a sudden, I bet you would say with those, I've gotten to see it. You've been that way with me because I've only ever known you post this journey that you've been on and how it's impacted the way you think about life and purpose and even faith and all of these things, which is so cool. But like, I also think that it's really interesting to think through like, okay, so if what we're cracking the code on here is that if you care about being liked and respected, both may not happen in the way you want to, and even if they do, you're let down because you went straight up for liked, didn't happen how you wanted to, you got let down. You actually got everything you wanted and being respected by results and things like that, and it let you down. You actually just said, I'm let down because this is not satisfying. And now all of a sudden, and I hope everyone caught just the way you talked about the whole vulnerability and you shared it with people and how what they're sharing, because it was by far the most inspirational. Your tone shifted, but that's what happens because that's truth. And I would bet that you would say that because of that, you probably have people that you'd say naturally like you more, respect you more, funny enough, just because you're more vulnerable and like, this is who I am. And also I'll just tell you about it. What do you want to tell me? Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. I have more people in my life, I think, that would pick up the phone and at the drop of a dime be willing to do anything for me because we know who each other are
Come on.
at a deeper level. I've built relationships quicker. And it has to be natural, Travis. It has to come from a genuine place. You can't
some check a box. Yeah.
No, you can't show up and cry in a meeting and expect everybody to love you. It can't be like
vulnerability as a manipulative play, and everyone reads right through
it. That's right. You have to actually do it because it matters to you to want to let people in on who you are and how you feel. And this world is it's a rough and tumble and pretty crazy place. And
That's right.
And we've all got feelings and emotions. And I think people really they want to respect you, they want to show up for you, but they won't do that if they don't know who you are. And if you're if you're over-indexed, we talk about the pendulum. If you're over-indexed on wanting to just be liked and your surface level relationships and you're flying high and having fun and doing this and that and trying to be in every corner and with every group of people, ultimately you don't have real meaningful relationships that you've built, and that can all go down in just a second. If you're just going to prioritize being respected and putting up numbers and showing up as a leader and delivering results all day long and wanting to build a brand around that, you're also not building real meaningful relationships. It's in the in-between where you got shared experiences and you're being vulnerable and doing so in a genuine, authentic way that you really let people in. And life feels it has more of a purpose to it these days than it did over the past.
Well, I mean, what a piece of gold. I'm just sitting here trying to reflect on, again, your vulnerability has caused me to want to look inside, be more self-aware. And I love the beginning when you say like, be more self-aware and get community, because you've just lived that out through your life. And that's effectively what you've continued to go back to is those two things. So I think that's in general a takeaway I have. But I'm sitting here thinking, when I give a speech or when I have a small group, maybe it's a Bible study, or maybe I'm having a one-on-one with somebody, or whatever it is, if right at the end of that, someone were to ask me, hey, do you think that person likes you? Do you think that person respects you? It sounds like the answer to manage the tension is, I don't know. I didn't even think about that, because you're that dialed in on the other person. You're that dialed in on just being honest about you. And I think that I'm just sitting here like, when are the moments that today, even today, I would ask that question. Oh, I know they like me, and here's why. Oh, I know they respect me because of this and that. Well, that's probably why I was doing it, and that's disingenuous, and that's going to lead to that curled up in a dark room place, figuratively or not. And that's what it's going to lead to, and that's just a lot of truth that you taught us in that. And so,
Mm.
Scott, I want to close with this has been so good, and I got to say of almost any of these that we've done, I mean, your level of just willing to just share where you've been from being, a young kid to today. Wow. And I do think, and I hope you get a lot of notes and different things that people say how impactful it is because of that vulnerability and how relatable. Probably a lot of it is people just don't talk this way. So thanks for the boldness, but man, I'd love for you to take the mic, and to close this thing. And just for those listening that are trying to manage the tension of likability and respect and realizing neither one of them is going to end to anything, like, do you have one last encouragement for them?
Yeah, I would just say this: if you're feeling this tension or you're not happy with where you're at in life, the question that was asked of me is who knows this about you and who really does know you.
Yeah.
You have to be self-aware enough in that moment to recognize you have to be intentional to do things differently. And if the answer is nobody really knows me, that's where you have to address it and seek out help, ask for help, let people know, get vulnerable, do so in a very genuine and authentic way. Again, I'll say it. I'm an advocate for men's health. I'm an advocate for coaching and therapy, and I think with the right partnership with the right people. Again, it comes back to people and relationships with the right people. You can choose. You don't like the script, write a new script, but do so in a way that's connected to who you want to be and satisfies those things.
Come on, man. And do it with others, right? That's the joy of life. Do it with others that will remind you on your dark days. This is who you are, who I know you are, because Lord knows those are the people that get us through. Scott, thanks for being on. What an amazing episode of The Tension.